The hunger in the pines. They say the Wendigo comes when the cold sets in deep enough to reach your bones. When snow covers every way out. When hunger becomes a voice, not your own, whispering to you from the trees. I used to think it was a myth. A story made up by forest folk to scare kids into staying home. But I know better now. Because I'm the only one who made it out. We are in a remote forest in northern Minnesota, February. There were 5 of us, I and Claire, my brother Caleb, his girlfriend Jess, our friend Marcus, and Troy, the tough guy. The type of guy who could get a rabbit with one hand and quote survival manuals with the other. We were all in our mid-20s. City-raised. Restless. Looking for something real. The trip had started as a dare, something tossed around at a New Year's party when the whiskey was flowing and everyone thought they were invincible. Caleb pushed for it. He'd been binge-watching survival shows and posting about getting off the grid. Troy backed him up, saying most people today were too soft. Jess was in it for the adventure and photos. Marcus, he just didn't want to be left behind. Me? I tagged along to watch over Caleb. We'd lost our parents young, and even now, I felt like it was my job to make sure he didn't take things too far. So, a week in the northern backwoods. No cell phones. No GPS. Just paper maps, worn gear, and a vow to prove we could do it. The snow was already knee-deep when we parked at the trailhead. We had to snowshoe in, dragging sleds packed with tents, food, and firewood. The pine trees loomed tall and ancient, dripping with icicles. Their silence wasn't peaceful. It felt watchful. Like the woods were waiting. The first day was peaceful. The kind of quiet you can only find that deep in the woods. At night, we huddled around the fire drinking hot cocoa and laughing. Marcus told stories, Troy made snow shelters, Jess snapped photos of the icicles. It felt like the adventure we signed up for. But the second night, everything changed. It started with the wind. Not just wind, but a howl that had depth. It echoed like it had weight. Like it was moving with something. While collecting firewood, Troy stopped mid-step. His flashlight trembled in his hand. "Something's watching us," he said, voice low. "Big. Fast. Not a bear." Marcus laughed nervously, but I saw Troy's face. The bravado was gone. His eyes were wide, locked on something in the trees. But there was nothing there. Or at least, nothing we could see. That night, I woke up to a sound like antlers scraping along the canvas of our tent. Slow. Deliberate. Like something was feeling for the seams. On the third morning, Jess was gone. Her sleeping bag was undisturbed. Her boots sat at the edge of the tent, frosted over. No signs of struggle. Just missing. We split into pairs and followed tracks into the woods. Hers were clear at first, barefoot, in the snow. But they stopped only 20 feet out. Stopped. Next to the last print, claw marks. 4 of them. Like talons had punched into the snow and pulled something under. We should have left. We tried to. But the storm came in harder than any of us expected. By dusk, we were in whiteout conditions. No sky. No direction. Trees vanished into the fog. The trail? Gone. GPS dead. Compass spinning. Everything looked the same. That night, something shifted in the air. The wind stopped. Not slowed, stopped. The flames from our fire shrank inward like they were hiding. We were sitting in silence when Troy suddenly stood up, stiff as a statue. His eyes locked onto the trees. "Jess," he whispered. "She's here." I followed his gaze and felt the blood drain from my face. There she was. Standing at the very edge of the clearing where the tree line begins to rot into shadow. Her bare feet sunk slightly in the snow, but she didn't shiver. She wore a white dress, stiff from frost, the fabric twitching slightly, against the wind. Like it was breathing. Her skin was an awful shade of pale blue, as if she'd been submerged in ice water for hours. Her lips were cracked, torn like they'd been chewed. But it was her eyes that paralyzed me. They glowed. Not like reflection, like embers buried in snow. Icy and burning all at once. "Jess?" Troy called out, taking a hesitant step forward. She didn't answer. Just tilted her head slowly, mechanically, as if her neck had forgotten how to move like a human. Then she smiled. Too wide. The corners of her mouth nearly reached her ears, and her teeth. They weren't hers anymore. Long, jagged, spaced wrong, predator's teeth in a human face. She raised one arm, pointing at Troy. And then, with her head still tilted and her eyes locked on him, she turned and walked into the forest. Not through it, into it. Like the trees parted for her. Like they knew her now. Troy didn't even hesitate. He followed her, mumbling her name, stumbling blindly into the dark. I opened my mouth to scream, to stop him. But the moment he crossed the tree line, the woods swallowed the sound from my throat. There was no echo. No crunch of footsteps. Just black. Then, a scream. Not human. High-pitched, layered with something beneath it. Like something was mimicking him, badly. Then came the sound we'll never forget. Wet. Ripping. Chewing. Like someone tearing meat off bone with their teeth. Sloppy. Slow. And then... silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind that presses into your skull like a vacuum, like the forest had closed its mouth. Next morning. 3 of us left. Caleb was restless. He hadn't slept. He paced the camp, muttering to himself. We're not alone. It's in the trees. It whispers. It knows our names. He started looking at Marcus strangely. Like he was meat. That night, I woke to choking sounds. Caleb was on top of Marcus, snarling, biting at his shoulder. Foam around his lips. His eyes, not his. I hit him. Hard. With a frozen log. He fell back, twitching. Not unconscious. But vacant. And when he looked up at me, he smiled. The same too-wide smile Jess had. We argued what to do. I said he needed help. Marcus said he was already gone. By morning, Marcus had vanished. Blood trailed off into the forest. Drag marks. Something had hauled him away. Caleb was gone too. I was alone. The storm hadn't let up in days. Snow piled high against the tent walls, pressing inward like a frozen coffin. The inside reeked of damp plastic, sweat, and hopelessness. I had no food left. Not even crumbs. My breath fogged the air like smoke signals for no one. My lighter wouldn't spark anymore, the flint frozen stiff. In desperation, I burned my gloves just to feel heat. They melted in flickering curls. The smell of rubber and wool filled my lungs. I hadn't heard a bird in days. No wind. No howling. Just the slow, endless crush of snow piling in. And then... that silence broke. It started as a vibration in my chest. A cold one. Like standing under power lines. I turned toward the tent flap, and I didn't have to open it. Because the air around me shifted. The canvas began to bulge inward. Pressed by something enormous. Then, the flap peeled open on its own. No wind. No hand. Just revealed. It stepped into view like a shadow crawling into shape. The creature. 10 feet tall. Bones draped in skin so thin you could count every rib. Its limbs were too long. Joints bent the wrong way. Its antlers were blackened and gnarled like charred roots, wide enough to scrape both sides of trees as it moved. Its face wasn't a face. Just torn lips curled back permanently. A grin stitched in starvation. Its mouth opened sideways as well as down. And inside, dozens of yellow fangs, like broken needles jammed into black gums. Its eyes, not just glowing, they burned. Like blue fire frozen in its skull. Its breath came out in clouds of steam, but it didn't warm the air. It made it colder. And then I saw him. Caleb. Not beside it. Inside it. Pressed behind its ribs, like a prisoner behind bone bars. His face wide with terror, but calm. His eyes looked right at me. And he smiled. Claire, it rasped. Its voice, 3 tones layered together, my brothers, something inhuman and something empty. You don't have to starve. Come inside. You'll be warm. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just fear, it was pressure. Like the trees had shifted closer. Like the world leaned in to watch. I bolted. Bare hands slapping ice. Branches tearing my skin. Something screeched behind me, long and sharp, like antlers dragging across stone. I ran. Through thorns. Through a frozen creek that shattered under me. I didn't know which way. I just ran until I collapsed. And as my vision blurred and darkened, the only thing I could hear was the sound of something breathing just behind me. Waiting. When I opened my eyes, the world was wrong. Too warm. Too bright. The ceiling above me was wooden, not canvas. The air smelled like coffee and antiseptic, not smoke and blood. I flinched, expecting snow on my skin, but I was wrapped in layers of wool. Blankets. Thick ones. My hands. Blackened at the fingertips. Swollen. The skin cracked and glistening with ointment. Frostbite. A man's voice broke through the silence, calm, tired, too soft. You're lucky to be alive. I blinked. A ranger, older, gray beard, worry carved into his face, stood at the foot of the cot. We found you 2 miles off trail. Half buried in the snow. No coat. No boots. You kept whispering a name in your sleep. He hesitated. Caleb? I didn't answer. Because I remembered what I had seen. And I knew that wasn't my brother anymore. They questioned me for hours. Where were the others? What happened to your gear? Why were there claw marks 10 feet up the pine trees? Why were there no footprints? Why were the tents shredded from the inside? They told me the bones they found had been picked clean. That even animals don't do that in winter. They didn't say it, but I saw it in their eyes. They didn't believe me. But they knew something was out there. That night, when they finally let me sleep, they left a mirror propped on the table by the bed. I don't know why. But at 3:17 a.m., I woke up cold. The mirror was fogged over. And for just a second, I saw a handprint pressed against the glass. From the inside. Sometimes I still hear him. When the wind howls. When I walk past puddles, windows, anything reflective. Claire. You don't have to starve. Come inside. You'll be warm. I didn't understand what I saw out there, not until I got home. I couldn't sleep. I searched every night. I needed to know what it was. What took them? What nearly took me? And I found it. The Wendigo. A creature from Algonquian legend. Not a beast, a spirit. Cold and ancient. They say it's born when someone turns to cannibalism in a desperate winter. But others say that's just the beginning. That sometimes, all it takes is a thought. A moment of hunger. A wish to survive at any cost. And the Wendigo finds you. It latches on. It hollows you out. And it feeds. Forever. I don't think Caleb died in that forest. I think something else lived. Something wearing his face.